I'm Nell, and I'm a rising senior at Menlo Atherton High School. So for my main project, I'm building a Wall-E emotive robot, and for my first milestone, I wanted to get my ultrasonic sensor and my 8x8 LED matrix working with each other and able to interact with each other. So right now, how I have it set up is my ultrasonic sensor, if it senses something is within 10 centimeters of the sensor, then it will then the Arduino tells my matrix to change from the frowny face that is currently displayed into a smiley face. And so you can see that working when I move my hand closer. Now it's a smiley face, and then when I move my hand away, it goes back to being a frowny face. So the way that the ultrasonic sensor works is the sensor emits a sound wave, and that wave will bounce off of an object no matter how far away it is within a certain range. And that sound wave is bouncing off of the object and going back into this other sensor. And then the wave, the amount of time that it took that wave to travel and then bounce off of that object is measured by the computer. And so once it has that increment of time, it can take that and multiply it by the speed of sound, and that will tell the computer how far the wavelength actually traveled. And then because that wavelength is traveling both to the object and back, you have to divide that distance by 2 in order to get how far away the object itself is. So once it does all that, if it determines that the object is within 10 centimeters, then my LED display is set up on a conditional statement where it will display a smiley face when that 10 centimeter distance is detected. So the way the LED display works is it's 64 LEDs set up on a total of 16 pins that are in an 8x8 grid display. And the way that that works is basically you have a possibility to send positive currents through each of these vertical pins, and then negative currents through these horizontal pins, and then depending on which ones you choose to activate, basically, you will be completing the circuit and allowing for wherever the cross section is to light up that LED. So, for instance, if I wanted these 2 pins to light up, then I would tell the LED to light up these 2 different pins as well as these 2 different pins. But the problem with that is because all 4 of these pins are on, all 4 of these cross sections will essentially have a complete circuit and be activated. And so that means that all 4 of these LEDs will turn on rather than just the 2 that I wanted. So the way that the LED display can get around this is it works on basically an array. And so what that array does is it only displays 1 row of lights at a time, and it goes down the lights in a loop. And the way that it just goes through that array so quickly that it looks continuous to human eye because you can't really detect that fast of light turning on and off. Even though technically not all of these lights are ever on at the same time. So some of the challenges I faced with this milestone were, first of all, I had never worked with any of these components before, nor had I ever worked with C++ programming, which is the language that Arduino uses. So first I had to do a lot of research to just get acquainted with how the appliances work. Like some of the troubles I had were not realizing that I needed to put the backpack on my LED display, which would make it significantly more difficult to hook up to my Arduino, as well as figuring out how to use a breadboard, which is relatively simple, but still I had never used one before. And then some of the struggles I had also with getting these to work together were I wasn't really sure how difficult or what was required to get them to work together, so I had to do some investigating to make sure I wouldn't break anything if I just kind of compiled the code on top of each other. Thankfully it worked, but one of the troubles I did have was because I wanted this to work on a conditional function, I had to set it up as an if-else function, which means that I had to say if there is an object within 10 centimeters, then it will do this one action, but if there isn't an object within that 10 centimeter distance, then it will perform this other action, which was not something that I was expecting. I thought that I could just say, if it's within the 10 seconds, or the 10 centimeters, then it will display, and if it's not, then it won't do anything, which is not something you can do. You have to specifically program exactly what you want the LED to display or not display. So my next steps for my next milestone will be to get the rest of my, I have a wave shield and some servos and another LED. So I want to get all of those other appliances working with my Arduino, and then I want to start programming them to interact with each other in a way that's slightly more applicable to the function of my robot, which will be the final product. Thank you.